going to you. I mean, a lot of things are going. By the way, did they say May 5th?
May 5th, yeah.
I have something to do on that day, or else I would have
showed up.
I would have showed up.
Would you show
Not
up
for
with
support?
Free Diddy.
Not for support. I know where you were going with that one.
Maybe I need to find a cardboard and write Free Diddy on there for you.
I know where you were going with that one.
Diddy has been popping this last week. Well, popping, it's not the right type of popping. He shouldn't be popping in the jail cell. That's not what you want to be popping for. But
head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
But of course, Diddy has, sometimes people get lucky in life, and just like Tiffany Henyard, we talked about her on Monday, Diddy got lucky again. One of his lawsuits have been thrown out, but not because he was proven innocent. It's because the accuser was too scared to reveal her identity. A New York judge dismissed a 1995 SA case filed against Diddy. We're gonna take a look. Fair use.
Another win in court for Sean Diddy Combs. A federal judge dismissing a sexual assault lawsuit against the hip-hop mogul, citing the plaintiff's failure to file a complaint under her real name. Combs has denied all wrongdoing.
And joining us now is ABC Chief Investigative Correspondent Aaron Katersky and ABC News contributor and attorney Brian Buckmeyer. Gentlemen, good to see you both. So Aaron, we'll start with you. Tell us exactly how this case got dismissed.
Well, it's as simple as that. The judge said that the presumption is when you file a civil lawsuit against somebody, the defendant has a right to know who his accuser is. So at some point, she was not going to be allowed to proceed anonymously. The only thing we knew about her in this case is a New York woman who says she was sexually assaulted and violently hit by Sean Combs sometime around 1995 at a party for a Biggie Smalls video. And the judge told her at some point you're going to have to say who you are. She refused to do it by the deadline the judge set, and so the judge dismissed the case.
Okay, so Brian, we see Jane Doe cases from time to time. That's not completely unusual. What was the issue here?
So yeah, we see Jane Does, or on the alternative, we see John Does as well. And you're allowed to start a case as anonymous as it does, as Aaron pointed out. But at some point in time, the defense has the right to know who's making these allegations. And you have to balance the rights of the defendant, who does have rights, as well as the rights of the person making the claim. And so in looking as to whether or not someone should continue as a Jane Doe or John Doe, they look to see whether or not the person's name is already in the public, whether or not they'll face any kind of psychological or physical harm or any kind of damage if their name is out there. And at some point in time, you can stay as a Jane Doe, but because those factors weren't properly articulated, I think in this case, the plaintiff couldn't continue with that anonymous title. And they do understand that harassment, sexual assault, rape has embedded within it the ability to have kind of reputational harm, but that's not enough. They have to go beyond just the allegations and try to...
Yeah, man, is this a win for Diddy? Diddy has been on a winning streak. RJ, do you think this is maybe setting a precedent for the other lawsuits?
I think that this is not setting a precedent. The precedent has already been set, or is being set actually, by all the other cases before that that dropped. Not all of them dropped, but a lot of them have. And I think at the end, the real people with the real cases will remain. Most likely, when they started all these cases, it was to try to push Diddy into a corner so he can settle. But his team seems to not be wanting to settle. It's fighting it, and it's giving the resistance that, and a message as well, that they will not, that Diddy won't go under for free. Well, as easily as they thought, which is a good thing for the law, because then we can actually see how at the end of the day, which cases are strong and which aren't. Before I say anything else, guys, remember to rate the show by pressing the like button, follow us on our other socials, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification icon as well. I find it a bit weird. I understand the reason why someone would want to start a case as a Jane Doe or a John Doe, because KaiR, you're vulnerable against a person like this, an alleged predator, and you don't want to expose who you are in an early stage. And I think it's for the case as well, not a good thing, right? So it's good that you can start doing some things, getting some movement going in the procedure before you reveal yourself. And if you see, hey, there's enough information, enough evidence to substantiate the claims, enough support, maybe the accuser, well, in this case, the plaintiff, will feel more comfortable and more safe to reveal himself or herself. Might be that she thought that wasn't the case, that there was a chance that she would expose herself and lose the case. And that in itself might not be an issue, because there can come feelings of shame and guilt after that. But maybe she was afraid of what Diddy would do to her afterwards. Maybe she was afraid of wrath, his wrath, and so he thought, no, let me just take a step back. But we don't know the reason, because it can also be that she just had fear that the case were there, the evidence was there, but she was just too scared to ultimately say, okay, let me reveal myself.
Let's watch the last part of the intro video, and then I'm gonna go back and give a little bit of more context to this whole situation. Fair use.
To prove what harm is there.
And Brian, Diddy's team released the following statement here. For months, we have seen case after case filed by individuals hiding behind anonymity, pushed forward by attorneys, more focused on media headlines than legal merit. The other claims, like the one dismissed today, also will not hold up in a court of law. So what does this mean for the other lawsuits that Diddy is facing right now?
So I think Diddy's attorneys are taking a bit of a victory lap, because yes, a case was dismissed. And there are a number, I think Aaron had pointed out behind the scenes, that there are about 20 lawsuits with the Jane Doe anonymous title to it. This isn't a dismissal based on the facts of the case. This is a dismissal because the judge put a deadline there and said, if you do not release your name in one way, shape, or form, then the case will be dismissed. But we don't know how the other Jane Does are going to react. They may be of the mindset of, I want to release my name, or I will release my name. And if that happens, then the case will be decided based on its merit and its facts, not based on a ruling by the judge. And so could we see more cases being dismissed? Absolutely. Could we see some of these cases going forward all the way to trial or some sort of decision? Absolutely. Only time will tell.
Aaron, there are a lot of other cases. There are a lot of other charges still for Diddy here. He's still in a Manhattan jail. What's next for him?
He goes on trial May 5th with jury selection. 300 prospective jurors are going to be summoned to the courthouse per day until they can whittle it down to those that will actually hear the evidence. Opening statements are set to begin on May 12th.
All right, gentlemen, thank you.
Let's go back to October 2024. The attorney Tony Busby filed a lawsuit on behalf of a woman identified as Jane Doe. She claimed back in 1995 at a New York City party that Sean Combs, aka Diddy, tried to SA her and violently struck her when she said no. Fast forward to now, we are seeing multiple Tony Busby lawsuits getting dismissed from what could be a dramatic turn in events, and also, of course, not a good look for Tony. Another one, RJ. Another Tony lawsuit getting dismissed, not based on the content or the claims, but more because of it seems like more procedural reasons. Because they are asking her, maybe she don't want to crash out like the woman that crashed out a couple of weeks ago. Imagine you crashing out and your name is out there as the one who crashed out, allegedly claiming something that didn't happen. It's a bad look, RJ.
Yes, it's a very, very, very bad look. And I guess, so let me ask you this before I proceed. Because they're going to you, I mean, a lot of things are going. By the way, did they say May 5th?
May 5th, yeah.
I have something to do on that day, or else I would have
Showed up?
I would have showed up.
Would you show
Not
up
for
with a
support.
free Diddy?
Not for support. I knew where you were going with that one.
Maybe I need to find a cardboard and write free Diddy on there for you.
I know where you were going with that one. So, what was your question? The scenario you painted? Sorry, I made that joke.
The question I was asking was more in oh man. Well, there is no real question. Can't recall it.
Oh, you said okay, but in any case, well, you were talking about. It's a shame that the viewers can rewind, but we can't.
We can't. No.
We aren't able to. Well, you'll figure it out as we go. But you said something along the lines of, what if it turns out that these allegations were not true, that they move forward with it and these allegations aren't true, something to that extent, I believe. What would be the consequence?
Yeah, you can continue with that. Let's
well,
answer that one.
Well, I think that I think that there are, amongst all these cases, there are some BS cases, and there might be some legitimate cases. And every case is a separate case. And as the case goes, as the procedure moves forward, I believe in every phase, some cases will fall off. So either because the victims withdraw, or the judge, finds the case frivolous. It's not really, there's nothing there. And so I do believe that at the end there will remain some cases. But the law is very... Do you remember what people thought about Johnny Depp?
Yeah, I remember it. I watched that whole case when it was.
I remember,
in court.
and it's safe to say that he came out of that court case stronger. It was a good thing that it was a public case as well, because we could see her lying.